Amar Ula. So Ula says, Ula was 2,000 years ago. He was in the group of the Amoraim, right, which wrote the Talmud. Amar Ula, Yaisi v'lo achimena. He's like, yo, let Messiah come, but I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him, like, because of all that crazy stuff. He's like, yo, let him come, but I don't want to have to like live through that stuff, you know. V'chein Amar Rabba, and also Rabba says, but there's a Yesh Omrim. There are those that say that it's not Rabba, but it's actually Rava. Okay, so Rabba or Rava says, Yaisi, let him come, let him all call, let my ringtone blare, let the beat bump like an ingrown hair, v'lo achimena. I don't want to see him. You know, I don't want to see it because it's going to be so tough. Then comes Rav Yosef, who was an old man, Rav Yosef, right? And Rav Yosef says, Yaisi, let him come. Rav Yosef was blind. Okay. So he doesn't talk about seeing him. But he says, Yaisi, let him come. Ve'azki de isiv betula de kufta de chamre. He's like, let him come and let me merit to sit in the shadow of the dung of his chamor, of his donkey. Okay. Right? Some people say that the Messiah is going to come in on a donkey. Let him come and let me sit in the shadow of the dung of his donkey. Meaning, like, I want him to come. It doesn't matter what I have to be through, but just let him come. Let him come. That's what Ula says. Right? Amazing statement. Amazing statement from Ula. Amazing statement from Rav Yosef, who was actually blind. Amar le Abaye le Rava. Abaye says to Rava or Rabba. He's like, my timer. He's like, well, why don't you want to see him come? What's the problem? Messiah, it's going to be so great. Why don't you want to see him come? Ilema, if you're going to say Mishum Chavlo Shal Mashiach, because of the birth pains of the Messiah, if that's what you're afraid of, but doesn't it say in a brisa, Shalu Talmidav as Rebbe Elazar? Rabbi Elazar asked Rabbi Elazar's students asked him. They said, Rebbe, Maya Aseh Adam v'yinatza michevlo shel Mashiach. What can a person do and be saved from the birth pains of Mashiach? Right? Answers Rabbi Elazar to his students. He says, it's a simple solution, it's a simple recipe, two things. One, yasaik b'taira, study and get involved, right, in the study of the Bible, of the Torah, of the Talmud. Right. And two is gemilas chasadim, do nice things. Right. Have guests, give some charity, right, smile at a stranger. That's another way to do it, which makes sense because like the big psyop going on. And so if we're happy and we're just doing nice things and everyone's doing nice things to everyone, then they won't have any power over us. So you can't be afraid of Messiah coming because it's very easy to circumvent that fear. All you got to do is study some Torah and do some good deeds and you're good, you're set. V'mar ha'tayra v'ha'gemilas b'zadim is like you're Abai is like to Rava, like you're saying that you're afraid of seeing the Messiah come. You got Torah, you got gemilas chasadim. What you afraid of, right? Amar Le, he answers him, says, Shema Yigro Machet. He's like, maybe I'm not worthy. Like, yeah, I think I got all this Torah and I got all this Gemilas Chasadim, but maybe the sin is going to cause me to, right? It's a little bit of paranoid thinking, but I hear maybe it's humble thinking. And so he says like this. He says, Kidder Rav Yaakov Bar Idi, like the famous statement of Rabbi Yaakov, the son of Idi. The Omer of Yaakov Bar Idi, for Rav Yaakov, the son of Idi, Rami. He brings a contradiction in the text. It says, Ksiv, it's written, Hine anochi imcha v'shemarticha b'chol asher seleh. Right? This is in Genesis. God says to Jacob, right? God says to Jacob, yo, I am with you and I will guard you wherever you shall go. Right? So God's saying to Jacob, I'm going to guard you. But then it says right afterwards, it says right afterwards, Vichsev, and it is written, Vayira Yaakov me'od vayetzer lo. So it was very bad for Jacob, very bad, and he was bugging vayetzer. It was getting him. He was bugging a little bit. Jacob was bugging. Wait a second. Jacob was bugging. Didn't God just tell Jacob that he was guarding, that he got his back?
Right.
And now you're telling me Jacob was bugging face?
Right.
How is that possible? So answers the Gemara that here also, Shahayim Misyare Shema Yigro Machet. He was worried that maybe I'm not going to be worthy of the fulfillment of this divine prophecy,
right,
of this divine promise. He was still a little bit bugging. But of course, if God promises, like we know that, but we understand what the thought process of Rabbah was when he said, "Let him come," but I'm afraid of experiencing those birth pains, those Chevle Mashiach. Okay, Kidditanya. And then we have another brisa. It says, Aji Yavor Amcha Hashem, that the nation of God is going to pass. That's Bia Rishon. That's the first time that we entered in with the 12 tribes,
right,
and we entered in. That's the nation of God, right? Aji Yavor Amzu Kaniza, this nation with that past that I have acquired, says God. That's Bia Shnir. That's the second time when already the tribes were dispersed, and then whatever was remaining went to Persia,
right,
and then they came back for the second temple. That'd be a shnia. Amor me'ata. So we say from here, Ru'uyim Yisrael lasos lahem nes be a shnia could be a rishona. Really, there could have been just as miraculous the second time we entered the land,
right,
except Ella de Shagara Machet, and we missed opportunities, and we didn't merit to have as amazing of a geula the second time, but this third time is going to be amazing, just like the first, maybe even more. It's going to be miraculous. It's going to be amazing. We're already seeing it. V'chein amar Rabbi Yochanan, and also Rabbi Yochanan says, Yaisi, let him come, let the Messiah come. V'lo achimena, but I don't want to see him. Amar le Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. These are two rabbis living in Israel, first generation of the Amoraim.
right,
And Rabbi Yochanan was a big fat guy. He was big, very smart.
right,
And Reish Lakish was a bandit. And Rabbi Yochanan he spoke to him, and he saw him swimming, and he had a conversation with him. And Reish Lakish came and became one of the greatest scholars in the history of our people.
mm-hmm,
Right? So he says, Reish Lakish, this bandit, this former bandit,
right,
former mafia guy, former Don, he says, "My Don, why are you afraid? Why are you afraid of seeing the Messiah come?" He says, if you're going to say, Mishum Dichsiv, Kasher Yanus Ish Mipnei Ari V'Pagu Adov, V'Bahabayis, V'Samach Yado Elakir, V'Nashcho Nachash. He's like, if you're worried about this verse in Amos, ever hear of Amos?
mm-hmm,
I barely heard of Amos. He's one of the 12, the Treasar, And so this could be my first time really getting into an Amos passage. But it says, just as a person runs from a lion and from a bear attack and comes home and he puts his hand to lean back
right,
on the wall, and then it goes and bites him a snake.
right,
The snake bites him, meaning boom, boom, you're getting a lion, tigers, snakes, bears. And he's just and so that's what Amos says. So says Reish Lakish, says this former gangster, this former mafionaire, right? Says to him, Mavioso says to him, are you afraid to see Messiah because of this verse? Come, I'll show you an example in our world. He comes out into the land. And so Santer, I think, so what's a Santer? So Bhagavo Santer, Rashi explains, according to the Gemara in Bava Basra and Samech Ches Amud Aleph, that these are the people that are really in charge of the fields, and this is my field, and this guy can just very easily say, oh no, your field doesn't start till here. That's why he's basically a government official, which we all know, gotta stay away from the government officials, especially nowadays, let them stay far away from us. So this guy comes in, Doma Kamisha Pagobo Ari. It's just like a lion, you know. You see a policeman, you're like, yo, I don't want no trouble. It's like you see a lion walking in the street, you just be like, yo, like I don't even want to involve myself with the police. And what you gonna do? Give me a fine for not wearing a mask or something? No, they're out on the prowl, like lions now. Nichnas the ear, he goes into the city. Pagobo Gaboy, another government official. Doma Kamisha Pagodo. It's like a bear. It's like, yo, I just escaped this policeman. Now I got like an army guy. Like, what's going on over here? Doma Kamisha Pagodo. Nichnas the base. So finally he gets home. Matzubanav Ubenosav Mutalim Barav. He sees his son and his daughters are in hunger, you know? So that's Doma Kamisha Nashkunachash. That is similar. That's akin to someone who's bitten by a snake. So is that why you're afraid of these things which can happen? He says, Elamishum Dichsiv, rather because it's rain. He's like, that's not the reason. The reason that Rabbi Yochanan was like, yo, let Messiah come, but I don't want to see him. The reason why is Mishum Dichsiv, because it's rain. Shalu na u're'u im yalad zachar madura izi kol gever yadav al chalatzav ki yolda v'nevchu kol apanim liyorkom. So this is a verse in Jeremiah. It's like, ask now and see if you gave birth to a son. Why do you see all men with their hands on their loins or on their hips, just like a kiyoleda, like maybe like a birth wife, and all of the faces is turning green. So these are some rough verses over here. So he's like, no, that's why he's afraid. Mara isi kol gever. What do you mean that I saw all men with his hands on his hips? Amar Rava bar Yitzchak. Rava bar Yitzchak says, Amar Rav, in the name of Rav, who was up there, Misha kol gevura shalo. Misha kol gevura shalo. That all of the strength is his, meaning HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's like God, like a Yolada, like a birth mom, and that like all of the idolaters are just like passing before the Israelites. And he says, hey, Ha'avid, Elu, like, how am I going to get rid of some of my children for the other one of my children, right? Because like everyone is God's children. So he's like, yo, like, what am I going to, like God, so God was like, I don't know what to do, right? Like, he's like, what am I going to do over here? So V'nebchu kol panim liyarkon, all the faces are going to turn green.
Yes.
You know? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, B'malya shel maila, B'pomalya shel mata. The heavenly posse and the earthly posse, right? B'shah she'amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Halalu ma'aseh yadai, v'halalu ma'aseh yadai. These are the creations of my hand, and these are the creations of my hand. Hay abed elu mipnei elu. How am I gonna destroy one? Like, because I'm going to let one of the groups destroy another group. How am I going to let this fighting between my children? So he says, Amar Rav Papa says, Hainu da Amri Inchi, that's what people say. Right v'nafal Tura, v'azal v'shadile susia be'uria. That's some tough Aramaic, but we're going to figure it out, right? So first, when it says the posse in heaven,
right,
that was talking about the angels.
right,
And so the posse, God's posse in this world, was talking about the Israelites. Right. And so it says, Rahit v'nafal Tura, running and the ox falls, and he goes and he says, so he says it runs like an ox, and it falls. So then the king's like, yo, okay, fine, I run my ox, but give me a good fast horse. And then the ox gets healed, but it's like, yo, but I'm already I like this horse now. So like God's like, yo, how can I choose between the people? What we really need is unity, right? Everyone's got to come together.